That's breakdown. The so-called three nature, we talked about that last week, that this consciousness will connect it to the mental associate that has three categories. One is wholesome, one is unwholesome, one is neutral. For example, when you see an apple in front of you, okay, it's just apple. You didn't get any emotion on this apple. That's neutral, just apple on the table. But if this is an apple that is so beautiful, so fresh, and then you say, oh, this apple looks good, I want to eat it. Or you generate a sensation that this apple is so good, I want to make offering to Sifu. And then you generate a wholesome mentality. But if you see that apple and you feel like this apple is old, not fresh, and you generate hatred, say, oh, how come my wife give me this unfresh apple for lunch, okay? And maybe she keep the fresh one, good one for herself. And this is so selfish, and this is unwholesome, okay? So the sixth consciousness will connect it to these three categories of natures, depend on how we operate, how we exercise our sixth consciousness. And then there are three modes of the so-called three modes of knowledge. Is the subject component, means that it's the subjectivity part, or you can say it's a grasper. How the consciousness perceive the object. For the sixth consciousness, there are three modes. For the first five consciousness, we talk about that they only have the veridical part. It's like it's true, it's genuine, and this is so. It's also true for the sixth consciousness. But the sixth consciousness also has the other. One is called inferential, means deduced or deducible by inference. For example, when we see smokes, okay, you go to the field and then you see smoke, like, you know, in California, they have wildfire. But when you see smoke in the mountain, you immediately think of like, oh, there is a fire, there is a wildfire there. But you didn't see fire, the real fire. But you see smoke. But your sixth consciousness tell you that there is a fire and you have to call 911 something. So that's, at this moment, we are using our inferential sixth consciousness to interpret the phenomena. And this is very often that we actually, for our daily life, we exercise this a lot. Instead of exercise our genuine sixth consciousness, usually we use our inferential sixth consciousness to interpret all the phenomena around us. For example, if we see the people we don't like, whatever he or she is doing, you will interpret it in a bad ways. And whoever you like, you will interpret it in a good way. And that's inferential mind. And of course, there is called the false. I translate it into false. I mean, it's not real. For example, if your eyes, you have problem with your eyes, and you can often see, you know, some spot in the sky, but the spot doesn't exist at all, but you see it, okay? And for some people, they have like psychological problem. They can see something that is not real. They will tell you that somebody is chasing me, try to kill me, but there is no such person around. And then at that moment, the mind that person claimed that it's real, but for most of us around him did not see that phenomena, think that it does not exist. So this person is using, when this person quote unquote perceive this like people trying to kill him, the process of perception is use the false mind, okay, and in parallel, these three kinds of subjective component will relate it to the three kinds of object components. When we have a genuine mind, and then we will perceive the object two kinds. One is so-called supreme state. For the enlightened one, they always perceive, they always exercise their six consciousness, and then what they with genuine six consciousness, and they will see things as is, okay. And then for the mundane state, for like us, if we don't exercise to make too much discrimination through our six consciousness, and then we will see what is real in reality. For example, when I see a red apple, then it's a red apple, and that's it. And I won't give it an interpretation or thinking that, oh, this is fresh apple, this is a Fuji apple, this is, you know, old and bad apple, something like that. It's just like apple, just as is, just like what Dr. Mitchell's experience in the space, okay. And then there is called a distorted object component, okay. So there are two types. One type is if our mind, the sixth consciousness grasps mental associate, any kinds of mental associate. There are 51 kinds that we will talk about later. Then that's called distorted, because, for example, I see someone say, "I hate you," to me, then I get angry. This is distorted because I hate you mean different things in different situations, okay? But because our condition, our mentality, our situation, we interpreted "I hate you" in a way that I got angry, okay? For example, for a dating couples, you know, when the girl say, "I hate you," then the boy will get very happy, because this is kind of a way that the girl show their the love with the boy, okay. But when for a divorcing couples, when the wife say, "I hate you," that mean really bad things, okay. So I hate you, this world, it is partially real, but it got distorted, okay. Depends on your condition or my condition, okay. And also when the seventh consciousness grabs the eighth consciousness, it is also distorted. We will talk about that later. And this is basically because the attachment, self-attachment of the seventh consciousness. So it won't, it is the interaction will get distorted. And the other thing is the so-called the mind grabs form Dharma. This is also distorted. Just like I say, I saw a red apple, then the sixth consciousness will distort the genuine object, that the red round apple there. Then I start to discriminate, like this is a fresh apple, this is a big apple, this is Fuji apple, this is a delicious apple, and all this come from the discriminating process of the sixth consciousness. At this point, the object is distorted as well. And then we talk about the false mind. So the same thing, the object component is also through our imagination, okay? Now, the first one is so-called memory. It's based on partial reality, okay? So what does that mean? Memory is not real. This is like Chang Hwa Fashi always say, the mother in your memory is not your real mother, okay? Because your mother is not in front of you, and you pick up the memory in the past. And if you think of your mom cooking for you, you like your mom's cooking, and your mom, you know, right now maybe is cooking lunch, and then all this in your memory, no matter your mom is alive or not, the memory right now you are thinking is we use our false mind to pick up the memory, and this memory is actually our imagination, so it's not real, okay? Because if your mom is real, then it's not in front of you, and it's neither in your brain. You cannot squeeze your mom in your brain, in your body, right? Or in your eyes. So that's an image from the memory, from your mind, okay? And the other is what we talk about, the hallucination. It's not real at all, okay? It is through, maybe it's from your brain problem or your psychological problem. I remember the movie, The Beautiful Mind. The scholar, the mathematician, has a hallucination of a friend and his daughter, and you know but he perceived it as real things, so real, but for all of us, we didn't see them at all until one day that the mathematician realized that they are not real by looking at himself, that he is getting old, but those two characters are not. At that moment, he realized that they are his imaginations, okay? So these are the three types of the object components that the sixth consciousness will perceive through three types of subject component. So I make a table to summarize what the sixth consciousness does, okay? So if we use the veridical sixth conscious state to, we will perceive the genuine object, okay? If we use inferential mind, then all the phenomena, all the perception will be distorted. And if we use the false mind, and all the things are through our imagination, okay? And all these three kinds of encounter, or the reactions, or you know, the perceptions, and each one of them will go to three different natures state, and depends on the individual, okay? Just like I say, you see a genuine apple, you like it, you don't like it, and you don't care, okay? Inferential, distorted, okay? So when you hear, I hate you from your partner, you may like it because you are dating and then she cares about you. You may dislike it or hate it because you are divorcing with your partner. Or you don't have any reaction at all because this is from movie. This is from TV. You know, somebody say, I hate you. And that's, I hate you, 3 words, doesn't mean anything to you. Okay, so you don't generate any kind of emotion from these 3 words. And also for the false, the false mind, you encounter with your imagination. Okay, so I think of my mom and I love her, you know, and that's good. And you think of someone you hate, someone hurt you so much in the past. Every time you think of him or her, you got angry and you got so upset that then you connect it to the unwholesome state. Okay. And sometimes you just like, randomly pick up a memory that, I remember there is a Dunkin' Donut around the corner, and that's it. Nothing more. That's a neutral state. Okay, so from our daily life, we need to clearly be mindful about how our 6th consciousness is doing right now. Is it vertical? Do we perceive this phenomena in a genuine way? Or we are using our inferential mind to distort what people say or what people has done. Or just like, you know, you're sitting here, make up a story and it's not real at all. You know, some people can hate someone for a decade and eventually find out that it's a mistake. It's a misunderstanding. And so you spend a decade, waste a lot of energy to hate someone and based on your imagination. And oftentimes we have done that frequently. So this is by understanding how the 6th consciousness operate, we should practice, be mindful, at least to be clear that what our 6th consciousness is doing right now. Okay, and let's go down to deeper way. Actually, the 6th consciousness has 2 types. One, it will co-arise with the first 5 consciousness, or it will arise independently. That means without the first to five consciousness, the 6th consciousness just keep working by itself. Okay, what is how the mind co-arise with the first 5 consciousness? How it generated the discrimination? There are 5 states. Okay, this is also very important. The first, what I'm trying to say is this 6th consciousness co-arise with the first 5 consciousness, and this co-arising process has 5 steps. Actually, it happened very fast, but through meditation, if you enter into a certain samadhi state, you can see how your mind discriminated in a slow motion way. Okay, then you can see that the mind, the direct response without thinking. So it see, for example, it will see the fire and it's fire. And then the mind of searching. Okay, you see something and what it is. And the third way is like, oh, this is fire. Okay. And then The fourth is mind of discrimination. It's like, oh, this fire is dangerous. And the fifth is, I have to keep away from the fire. And then the mind of continuity is like, in my mind, I know the fire is dangerous. So every time I see fire, I just get away from the fire. Okay. So I have one experience during the retreat. Okay. That I meditate, and after interview with Master Guru in Taiwan, I had a retreat with him. And then I had an interview, and he said that, oh, okay, your mind is kind of like a certain kind of samadhi. You have to get yourself out of the samadhi and pick up the huatou again. And so, and during the process of getting out of the so-called certain level of samadhi, I just keep walking, and finally I sit on the chair. I don't know for how long. Then suddenly, Master Guru come in front of me. He just scolded at me, say, "Are you looking for me?" I remember my mind. It's like I raise my head, I hear a sound, I raise my head, and I look at it. I found the image first, okay, image. And then my second thought is, oh, this is a person. The third thought is, I know him. And the first thought is, this is Guru Fashi. And then the fourth thought is, I'm not looking for you. And then I say, I'm positive. I didn't looking for you. So through this process, I totally echo with this the so-called five minds. Is once we encounter something, the mind encounter is like as is without any thinking, and then you try to identify what that is. That's the mind of searching, and then through the data matching of the sixth consciousness with the eighth consciousness. Oh, you're finally matching something. Okay, this is Guru Fashi. I saw him before. This is Guru Fashi. And then after you identify that person, you will start to discriminate what he has said, what he has done to you. And this is a mind of discrimination, like good and bad, right or wrong, something. And then you make up your mind. Yeah, this is it. This is it. Okay, so that's the first kind is co-arise with the first to fifth consciousness. Okay, and the second type is more important for us to understand. Is there the mind that does not arise with the first to five consciousness. I mean, you did not see anything, you did not hear anything, and the first type is arising independently. Okay, the first one is in samadhi. Okay, so if you read the literature, some master, after they enter into samadhi, there are many types of samadhi, and there are different kind of experience. Okay, sometimes people are like, oh, you sit there just like a second, and 5 days passed. Okay, that's one type. But the other type is in the samadhi, you will see something that people cannot see. Into samadhi, he saw what our grand hall looked like. So based on what he saw in the samadhi, he built our grand hall as is. Okay, this is like arrive the sixth consciousness, more like ordinary people. Okay, the so-called memory. So we sitting there, meditating, and things just come on, and you make story on top of your memory and make more story, okay? And or, you know, just like randomly think like, oh, this is lunchtime, what should I cook? You know, but you're not cooking, you're sitting here, and you just, your thoughts just scatter and pick up something to think of. That's the, your sixth consciousness is doing this kind of process. And so for meditation, no matter what technique, what method you are using, the first step, you know, we have to restrict, control this so-called monkey mind, the scattered mind, into one object. Okay, so that's the first obstacle or first issue that we need to overcome, is to train our mind not doing this so-called independent arising process. Okay, and the third, that's we can train ourselves and control it. But the third type is inner dream. Okay, most of us have experience of dreaming. Okay, so in a dream, you see people, you do something, and everything looks so real in a dream. And you talk, you do something, you know, and you have a mindset. In a dream, that's actually the functioning of the sixth consciousness, because basically the first to five, the fifth consciousness are not working. It's only our sixth consciousness is working. No matter you smell something or not, or you hear some people saying something to you, all this is the process of the sixth consciousness. And the fourth type is when people are insane or has psychological problem. What they see, what they hear are not real at all. Okay, so that's one type. And so in these four types, the most important one for a practitioner to work on is the second type. It's called, I call it memory or a scattered mind, you know, or random thought, something like that is for the second type that we need to work on, at least train our sixth consciousness to focus, to concentrate, in order to get more deeper practice. Okay. The other things that we need to pay attention to is the sixth consciousness arising afterward, after the process of the so-called co-arise consciousness processing, the one on your left, that, you know, for example, I just give you an example. The first five consciousness, your eye consciousness perceived a red apple on the table. And then your sixth consciousness tell you that, oh, this is an old apple. This is probably rotten inside, okay? And that's first level of discrimination. But after you see that, and you left the table and you go for a walk, and then you're still thinking about the apple. You're saying that, oh, Dad, my girlfriend is treat me, my mother is treat me really bad. Why she give me the bad apple for breakfast? Why she did not give me a fresh apple? You know, does she hate me, or she doesn't like me? And on. That's called your sixth consciousness arising afterward. That kind of, you're making stories out of after your sixth consciousness called arise with the first five consciousness. And that happened to us a lot. So the sixth consciousness arrives afterward, means right after it co-arises with the first five consciousness, either type. What you see, what you hear, you know, people scold at you, I hate you, and you're angry at that moment. But that's it. But we don't. We angry at that moment, and we angry afterward, and we angry for 7 days, for a month, for a year, or for our lifetime. That's all arising afterward. And then it will become our memory. And once in a while, we pick up the memory and we get angry again and again and again. Okay, so by understanding the process of the six consciousness, we need to dissect what happened to us after we perceive something from the first 5 consciousness in order to stop the bad process that are no good to us. Okay, and by comparing the first 5 consciousness and the 6 consciousness, we talk about the so-called 3 natures. Okay, and I put it in this table diagram. Okay, so on your left you will see 5 kinds of sensation, and the first 5 consciousness only have the 3 types called discontent, content, and neutral. And that's called sensations of the organs. Just like me, okay, this morning something went into my eyes. My eyes is so discontent, okay, feel pain, okay. So that's my eyes is painful. But then what I generate from through my 6th consciousness is I worry. Okay, so there are 2 types, worry and bliss, especially for the 6th consciousness. So 6th consciousness has 5 kinds of sensation, while the first 5 consciousness has 3 kinds. Okay, so here we have to, this is also very important for us as a practitioners. For example, my body is in pain, first 5 consciousness, but my 6th consciousness does not necessary to be in pain, means suffered. So our Sifu always say, you know, my body is in pain, but I'm not suffering. Okay, so my first 5 consciousness is clearly know that my body is hurting, you know, but my 6th consciousness and does not process in a way that make my mental state in suffer. And me, my eye is painful, but I'm using one eye to see the PowerPoint, and I worry this morning because I worry, can I give a talk? And, you know, can I see? Or I have, you know, all kinds of worry arise. Okay, so that then Fashi, Chang Hwa Fashi give me some advice, and then she helped me do something with my eyes, and she also said, okay, no problem. We don't have to video you. Nobody will see you in a strange way, you know, with only one eye open. Okay, then no problem. So today, no video for me. And then I feel, oh, good. Then I don't worry anymore because I just like, you know, nobody see me. Okay. So for the worry and bliss, that's a spatial sensation for the 6th consciousness. It keeps changing. It's not fixed. Okay. I like chocolate. Okay. So my tongue tastes chocolate. I feel so content. I feel so happy. At the same time, my 6th consciousness, my mental state feel happy as well. So the tongue, you know, the sweet. So, you know, I like the sweet. And then my sixth consciousness, like, wow, feel happy, made me feel happy. You know, I smile to everyone around me. But after eat 1 pound of chocolate, I feel disgusting. I want to throw out. And my sixth consciousness doesn't feel happy anymore. I feel worried, you know, like I'll get fat and my cholesterol, you know, my sugar, blood sugar, I might get diabetes. So then my mind changed, you know, I become from happy, become worry. So the sixth consciousness keep changing. Okay, actually, the taste, the first consciousness, the perception of the first five consciousness change as well. Okay, so we have to clearly know that, you know, don't as a practitioner, we need to divide. This is the first five consciousness perception, or this is the process of the sixth consciousness. And the things that we can really work on is the sixth consciousness. So no matter what phenomena we encounter through our five organs, in our sixth, we can train our sixth consciousness at this, not to generate dislike or worry. Okay. Even we are in a really bad health, physical situations, it's really hard. I tried. Sometimes you are in a great pain and you tell yourself that my mind is not painful. It's my body is painful, but my mind is not painful. But I'm so attached to my body, so my body's pain strongly influence my mind, and so I cannot keep my mind very stable. Okay, but this I try, you know, like I try to focus on my sixth consciousness, that is not painful mind, while knowing that my body is in pain. Okay, so and also we need to once I saw a baby, like one or 2 year old, that first tried the soda. Okay, and I feel so interesting. I saw very interesting phenomena is someone feed the baby with the soda, and the tongue, you know, the tongue and nose feel irritated by the bubble of the soda. So the face just like are squeezed together. It's not comfortable at all. But the tongue, right after that, the sweet taste through the tongue told her that I like it. So even though the bubble irritate the body, but later on the sixth consciousness decided I want more because it tastes good. Okay, so sometimes we don't have a happy, a content sensation through the first five consciousness, but our sixth consciousness will make the final decision that I want it or not, I like it or not. Okay, and so that's the process of the sixth consciousness in dealing with the sensation. Okay, so in conclusion, okay, in conclusion, we have some details in the previous slide, but this is the things that we need to remember is that the function of the sixth consciousness is first, we will differentiate, you know, to the object that we perceive. Okay, this is a red apple. This is a good apple, and then there are more from the sixth consciousness. What I described is the first level is differentiation of the sixth consciousness. But later on, you know, the sixth consciousness will estimate the gain or loss, advantages or disadvantages, beneficial or harmful. For example, the fire, okay? You don't like fire, the touch of the burning, okay? Then you consider this fire is dangerous. Okay, so I have to keep away from it. And then determination is like the body and speak. Okay, so when you see your child get close to the fire, you will scold at the child, don't get close to the fire, it's dangerous. Even though the child doesn't know what fire is, but you will tell them, you know, this is dangerous. Through our body and speech, we will fully show that what our discriminations and considerations are, okay? And then we will make a final judgment to complete a specific encounter. For example, just like, you know, you see the fire and in your mind, fire is dangerous, okay? And then you will, your body and speech will take action accordingly. Okay, so that become a judgment in our sixth consciousness. So every time you see a child get close to the fire, you will tell them it's dangerous. Okay, and we make so many of these judgments through the experience from our life. If you watch the child when they are like 1 or 2 year old, their sixth consciousness does not have too much discrimination, and they treat things equally. You know, like they even eat their own poop. This for them, they're just like apple. But then adults train them, you know, this is bad, this is dirty, you know, you'll get sick. And then through the experience or through the education, the baby's, the child's sixth consciousness accumulate a lot of amount of judgments in their minds. And after we accumulate enough judgment throughout daily life, without thinking, it's just go very fast. We use all kinds of judgment to handle our daily life, okay? So that's the sixth consciousness. And another very important thing is, since the sixth consciousness makes so majorly our discrimination and judgment in our life, so it's the driving, the most influential driving force behind our physical action and speech, okay? So here, last week, people asked, you know, object and organs has no mind. How come it would has the, it needs object, organs, and consciousness, 3 parts to interact together to, for us to perceive anything, okay? If we die, the body is dead. We have the object, we have the organs, but there is no perception there because the consciousness not there. But through this encounter, the objects, organs, and consciousness encounter together, it is the sixth consciousness that make the decision, see, okay, we pick the wholesome associates or unwholesome afflictions, okay? These two things we will talk about in the mental associate later on. So it is the sixth consciousness that decided, you know, I want to be compassion, or I want to, you know, get revenge. You know, I choose to forgive, or I choose to hate, okay? Through these decisions, and then we take our body action and mind behavior. And that's where we accumulate our karma, okay? And the karma later on store in our 8 consciousness that will influence our further encounter of this, the process. Okay, so this page is just trying to point out that the importance of this, the role of the sixth consciousness in our mental action in process here. And so this is the key, that actually, even though from my habitual behavior or my habitual mentality, I should hate this person, or I should, revenge. But my practice tell me that I should forgive. I should let go. I should generate compassionate mind. Then these two forces are debating, your vows and your karma, debating. And, if your vows win, then you choose, okay, even I know I hate him, but I choose to forgive him in certain way. And eventually, maybe I can only forgive him 10% right now, maybe 20% later on, but eventually I want to forgive him 100%. Okay, that's a good start. Okay, and this decision maker is the sixth consciousness, and also that's the target for the practitioner to train our mind, is the sixth consciousness. And I don't have too much time. Okay, the karma, etc. But and in okay, I just jump. This is the conference that I participate in 2015, the art of dying, the spiritual, scientific, and practical approaches to living and dying. So there are 400 doctors, nurses, caretakers, scholars from all over the world are trying to study dying process, okay? And they use scientific way to study the so-called deathbed experience, okay? And then you can see from your right-hand side, so there is that dying moment. And what happened right before you die, and what happened after you die. And at least people start, in the Western world, people start to extend the study time, the dying process before, before that moment or afterward, because they found out there is something more. It's not like Western mind thinking that, okay, I'm alive and I'm dead, and then I go to heaven. That's simple. There are something happening. For example, the perception for the dying people are different. See, we still have the 6 organs, and we still perceive this world as usual. But for dying people, something is really changed, and they perceive this world differently. They even can see something that we cannot see. It's not hallucination. There is something happening. And after the death, and then their family members have special experience as well. So all this are studying in a more scientific way, in more academic way. And that's good things to know and good thing to approach. And I don't have too much time right now. And actually, I would like to show you the things to finish, because what I want to talk about is the
another
okay.
Case.
Can you?
Case of
What should I share?
Steve Jobs.
Can you see that?
Fascinating.
It's a very fascinating
because it's within our lifetime.
Right. It's right up here. It's close to us.
Yeah.
When did he die? I think about 4 years ago, maybe 5 years ago, 2012. It might have been.
Yeah.
And his dying words were, and this is reported by his sister, who was right at the bedside. His sister Mona Thompson, a novelist. oh wow, oh wow, oh wow. And Jobs was looking
对啊，
out
怎么弄？
across the room at something that of course nobody else could see. And there was this awesome kind of smile on his face, like, what is that?
Mm-hmm.
And we have every right to think that what he saw, and I'll say why in a minute, was a glimpse of the world that he was about to enter into.
Mm-hmm.
There are two types of deathbed visions. One of them is the vision
不
of
要了，不想。
someone who has come to greet us and take us away and reassure us, the first type that we looked at. The second type, which we get a feeling for in the case of Mrs. B, remember how she sees, oh, lovely light. What she sees apparently is something like a beautiful world that has been transformed.
Well, she started initially to see darkness.
She did. And
she was afraid of the darkness.
And then it opened up into this beautiful, lovely lights. That's the way she put it. Along with wonderful beings. Those are her words. Lovely lights, wonderful beings. And so my suspicion is that Steve Jobs saw the same thing, something very similar to that. He was not describing someone who had come to greet him and to take him away. Probably what he was seeing was just the world in which he was about to enter.
The various accounts are that everything is more vital. The colors are more varied and more beautiful. The shapes, the sounds,
all of that.
The emotions are all intensified.
All the senses that we have, we take with us, but they're not the old senses, our hearing, our seeing. It's something even better than that.
OK， 那怎么回去？
Hey, just 1 second. I want to give you this book for absolutely free, along with a free workshop, 5-step system to how to use an email address, and nothing more than that to start an entire online business.
OK, sorry about the technical issue.
Listen.
Wow. OK, I would like to end my talk here. Just want to make the connection to bridge to our my next talk about the 7th and 8th consciousness. See what Steve Jobs said in his final words. Oh wow! From the conversation of 2 PhD, the interpretation is he saw different things. Okay, different world. And this is through his the discrimination through his 6th consciousness. And how can he do that while he's still alive? And there are something is changing when we approach to that death. Okay, and so this is, when we die, where are we going to? Okay, what we carry from today's life, this life to the next life, how we carry those messages to the next life or from the past life. And that we need to talk about the 7th and 8th consciousness. Okay, so today I briefly explain and share about what the 6th consciousness is trying to point out, the key point for the practitioners to work on with all kinds of any kinds of method. But eventually we have to talk about the 7th and 8th consciousnness that is we will carry life after life after life. And after we die, the first 6 organs, including the 6th consciousness, stop functioning. Okay, only the 7th and 8th consciousness continue the journey for our lives. Okay, so what are the 7th and consciousness art? We will talk about that next week. Okay, so I'll stop here.
Thank you, Fashi. There is one person has question. Chen Rongxiang, 居士. Should we giving him time to ask the question?
Yeah, sure.
So Chen Rongxiang, okay,
Yes.
go ahead.
Yeah, Fashi, I have a question. I think it's my confusion between sixth sense and seventh sense, because the sixth sense help differentiate the object. For instance, is a flower. But if I don't have the seven senses, I should not generate whether I like or dislike, because like or dislike is you have the self involved. So so how could sixth sense can make the karma? If sixth sense just differentiate is flower is good, flower is beautiful, but you know the color of the flower, but I don't generate like or dislike because I don't have the seven sense.
Seventh?
Yeah, seven. Yes.
Seventh
Yeah,
consciousness?
seven consciousness. Yes.
No. No. The seventh consciousness will not give a discrimination of like or dislike. The only attachment for the seventh, we will talk about that next week, is to attach this is me.
Okay.
Okay, and why you like it or you dislike it is from the seeds in the eighth consciousness.
Oh.
So you have two children, one like apple, the other dislike apple, the other like orange, the other, you know, it just like you didn't train them or educate them to like or dislike something, but they just naturally don't like this and like this. And that's from the, you know, from the eighth consciousness. Or through the experience that's stored in the eighth consciousness.
Because I always confused between the 7 and 6, because I always thought if there's no 7, then the sixth sense just perform the routine.
Well, actually, the seventh consciousness is the root, the organ of the sixth consciousness.
Mm-hmm.
So through the seventh consciousness, the sixth consciousness receive information from the eighth consciousness. Just like your tongue, your eye receive signals through your eye consciousness, receive signals through your eye for the color. And your sixth consciousness receive signals through the eighth consciousness, the seventh unconsciousness, to collect information from the eighth consciousness.
So it is a channel.
It is not channel. It's yeah, it's kind of organs or receiver, but this receiver has special function that it will decide who you are and process certain kind of signal seeds. For example, if you are human, you will receive human signal like water as liquid transparent water. But if you are animal, if you are fish, then your seventh consciousness attached to different things.
Okay. Okay. Thank you.
Okay, we will talk about, we'll try to clarify next week.
Thank you, Fashi. Thank you.
Right.